All right, welcome to the first ever Career Coaches Makeover here in the Career Coaches community. Today, we're going to be speaking with Jonathan Corrales, and we're going to be able to just take a time to really understand his business, understand his goals, and really try to identify the bottleneck. The goal, right, is to really understand how fellow career coaches are building their businesses, and just to give my perspective as someone that's, build a career coaching business to over 7 figures and been doing this for over 10 years. So, Jonathan, thank you so much for wanting to do this and being
My
open to
pleasure.
share. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you very much for having me. I feel very fortunate. It's like winning the lottery, so
No, I don't
I'm
know about
excited to
winning the
be here.
lottery. That's not Tell us a little bit more about you and ultimately why did you decide that you wanted to be a career coach and build a career coaching business?
That's a great question. I started off my career actually as a patent examiner at the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and I did that for about a year. Thought it was the most boring thing in the world, and then got into software development, which is what I went to school for.
Hmm.
And from there became a project manager. Well, first team lead, then project manager, then program manager. I was going for a director level position when I got affected by the layoffs, like most people on the market
Yep.
now. And I've been helping people since I was in college. Been tutoring folks in computer science related topics forever now, almost 22 years plus. And I've always done resume reviews and coaching sessions on the side just for fun. And I thought, there's so many people, especially a lot of my friends that are impacted by layoffs. Maybe that's something that I can do to sort of give back. I've had a really good career and really good mentors and coaches myself. I believe strongly in coaching. I've poured thousands of dollars into coaching myself
Oh,
because it just, sometimes you just need that fresh perspective. And so all of that got me into thinking about helping people. I've never considered myself a career coach, but the more I do it, the more I'm like, yeah, maybe I am a career coach.
yeah. And so tell us, are you doing this part-time, full-time? Like,
I'm doing this full time. So so yeah, I started off by building an app. The original idea was I was going to build an app with two friends of mine. They were my co-founders, and I spent like 2 years on that. Uh, and I was doing that, part time. But then when I got laid off, I said, well, now I can focus on that app full time. Then my co-founders had other things in life happen, and so they couldn't continue on. And I thought, well, let me refocus. When I started doing the career coaching, and I spoke about all of this stuff with my wife, and she said, yeah, go for it. And so
yeah.
I said, all right. So I'm doing it 100% full time.
And how long have you been doing it full-time?
I've been doing it full time since uh the end of December.
Okay, so since December, walk me through how that 6, 7 months has been like, like that journey, like what have you been working on since then? What are you focusing your time on? How are you spending your time?
Yeah. So initially my big focus was just creating content.
Hmm.
Um I wanted to just offer advice to people that are out there that might be struggling. I know some people are struggling a lot with just getting an interview.
Yeah.
And some people are struggling with getting past the first interview. So content was really like my first real focus up until maybe February or so. That's when I got my first client.
Yeah.
And then from there, the next thing that I was working on was like, how do I improve what I'm offering?
Yeah.
So I did that for a while. And the more I spoke to people, the more I understood sort of what their needs were.
Yeah.
So I was able to reshape my program. And then it was focusing on sales, like learning how to sell. Um, and now it's learning how to run a business,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Because now I've got clients, I've got money coming in, but now I need to make it more of a business.
When I look at your LinkedIn, it says I help people in software get hired by coaching them to show their value and effectiveness, value effectively. Have you always known that software engineers were your niche, or that is something? How long has that been a niche?
Since college. I was a volunteer tutor for my university. There was a real problem in our program in the computer science department. We had a really big attrition rate. And
Mm.
so there was a professor that suggested that we develop a free tutoring program. And it was part-time. I think it was like 20 hours a week. And he gave me and a couple of my friends at the time, we're still friends today, an office. So we had like an office on campus, a private lab for
Yeah.
ourselves. And I just sat there and I just tutored. Like I just anyone that would come in between
Yeah.
classes, I was at the office. Um, so I've always known that I wanted to work with people in software. I wanted to actually be a professor, but at the time I didn't have any money. So
Yeah.
so I needed to go get a job and make some money. And I've always kind of flirted with the idea. I went and I did my master's. I did a year of PhD study. And I've always been helping people like as a leader in software, like when I've led teams or managed projects, I've always mentored and coached. I've helped people get into places like Amazon, um, Google, Apple, throughout my career. And I haven't charged a single dime for it, until
Yeah.
recently when I
So
was like,
recently,
okay,
yeah.
if I'm going to be doing this, for a living, I obviously have to charge some money.
Yeah, absolutely. So since then, I'll walk us through the numbers in finance. So how many clients have paying clients have you have since you started doing this full time?
So overall, I'm at 13 clients.
Hmm.
Um, I've spoken to, well, I haven't spoken to all of them yet, but so far I've spoken to over 80 people,
When you see speaking to, that's 80 sales calls.
80 sales calls.
Okay.
And I have a couple more in the pipeline. So overall, like at the end of the next 2 weeks, I would have spoken to 94 people so far. People are still scheduling with me.
Yeah.
Um, so my close rate is something like 13% right now, 13 point something.
And then what's your like what is the offer that you're making them and how much are you charging?
Yeah. So the offer has changed over time.
Yep.
Initially, I started with 5 sessions
Yeah.
and it was 5 sessions for 11.95. And then I also had another package, which was 12 sessions. And that one was going for initially like 2000. Then I raised it to 31.25.
Yep. Yes. So you said 12 sessions?
Yep, 12 sessions. And now it's at 41.25 for 12 sessions.
41, 20.
25 for 12 sessions.
Okay.
And the reason I changed the number of sessions is no one was buying the 5 sessions.
Was why not?
I I so I think partly because there wasn't enough value in it.
Okay.
But then I would show them like a 12 session package and they would say, "Oh, I want the 12 session package." Even though it was higher,
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
would want to they wanted to pay for the higher package. And I even asked once, I probably almost talked myself out of a sale. I said, "Are you
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
want that one? Because that's more expensive." And they said, "No, no, I want that one." I said, "Okay."
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
What are your goals? 6 months from now, 3 months from now, like where do you want your business to be?
That's a great question. I don't I don't know yet. So I have a couple of ideas, like in terms of like how I want to build out the service or the
Mhm.
product. And right now I'm in a weird place right now where I'm at the point where I can only take on so many more clients because
How,
it's a
how
lot of
many
one-on-one
clients into yeah,
sessions.
how many clients into you feel like so you have 13 clients right now, let's say, give or
Yes.
take some right? How many you feel like, hey, if I get this many, like if I get to 20, I'm blocked out. Like, do you have a number in your head that you like, hey, like I don't think I can handle more than 25, like, or is it 15? What do
20
you
might be 20 might be the limit for one-on-ones.
Yep,
And I have to start moving into group sessions.
yep. Okay, and
So
really quick then. So you're at 13, so you have about 7 spots left in this
mhm,
model, right? In this model,
mhm,
right?
correct. Yeah.
What is your revenue, average monthly revenue that you like that you do on a month in the last 3 months? Let's say the first 3 months you're always built like it won't be the same. So like for the last 3 months.
I
And if
think
June
I'm
is a
at
good month, you can say June as well, right?
okay. So monthly, I'm probably at about 5K
Okay.
for the month.
Okay. Is there a dollar amount that you're like, hey, I need to get to this much for it to be worth it for me to make this full time? Because look, at the end of the day, you have technical skills that the market are willing to pay couple six figures, high hundred thousands, right? So you're
Hmm.
obviously leaving short term, leaving money on the market,
Hmm.
right? Like I did it too, right? Like it's part of making
Yeah.
the business move, right?
Yeah.
So is there like a number you're like, hey, if I can take this much home a year, like this is where I'm like, I know this is the right spot. Like I know I love doing this. I'm sure you enjoy this a lot, the people side of it, the impact that you're making. But is there such thing as like a number that you're like, hey, financially, this is what I really want to get to at minimum, right? Like this is where like I need to get.
I'm gonna give you a really silly answer
Yeah.
because initially I wasn't like, oh man, I'm gonna make millions. I was just like, all right, if I could replace my salary, I'd be okay. Um,
Fair. Yeah.
so if if I keep hitting the numbers and the growth that I'm hitting, I'm gonna like quintuple my salary before I left the corporate world.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't have a hard number, but like my milestone, like to be quite honest, my milestone for this year, I had two major milestones. My first one was make some money
Yeah.
before month 6, and I started making money in February.
Yeah.
So
So
I
how much
crushed.
have you made so far for
So
year to
f-
date?
so far, I probably made about um man, overall, I'd have to go look.
Guesstimate, entrepreneurship math. Welcome to entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship math. Okay. So maybe like cash given to me, maybe like 10K
Okay.
that I've collected because I have installment plans with a couple of my clients, so
Sure.
they haven't all paid up front.
And
I just got my
does some
first
of them
paid up
have a
front.
success fee attached to it, or it's all payment plan? It's all
Just
such and
yeah, just flat like
yeah.
payment. Yeah, here's the
Yeah.
package and yeah, nothing else attached.
Got it. Cash collected 10K, but in sales, what would you say is like that what you like based on what you sold that you like have an agreement with them? Is that is because if
Hold
you
on, let me pull out my trusty
that's
calculator.
it, man. I'm over here with my phone when you're giving me numbers. I'm trying to figure out margins, figuring out closing rate.
Right now would be 40K.
Good. Okay. Okay. What would you say is your current biggest bottleneck? Is it leads? Is it clarity on the business? Is it client success? What would you say is your biggest bottleneck?
Um, maybe operations
Okay.
because uh with like every client has their own need. And
Hmm.
so, first of all, making sure that they're all getting like consistent support, across the board. They've all got their onboarding documents, agreements signed,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like those are really the things where I'm struggling a little bit to
Mhm.
be as consistent as I can be. So I've been building systems to do that, to do follow-ups.
Sure.
I just started doing weekly surveys to
Hmm.
see how everything's going for folks.
Yeah.
And that's great. I've been collecting a lot of really good feedback. Like I didn't have a CRM for a long time,
Yeah.
right? So there's a bunch of like data I never collected, and people whose contact information I never got. Like it's been a learning process.
Yeah. No,
So
makes
yeah,
sense.
operations is probably my
So
simple
if
answer.
operations is a bottleneck, how many leads do you think you're getting a week? A week.
Oh, so at first I was at 4 to 6 a week, and
Mhm.
now I'm at uh 10 a week. That's
Okay.
because that's my max. I max it out at 10.
Like
So
10 sales
the way I
calls or
separate my week is I do coaching Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, and then sales Tuesdays, Thursdays.
got it.
And Tuesdays, Thursdays is usually jam packed. Like I just got back to back sales calls.
Okay. And how are you generating those leads? How are you getting people is it just because people go on your LinkedIn and they hit book?
It's just my LinkedIn. It's just
Yeah.
content. Yeah.
And would you say that what percentage of those sales calls are show up? You have like 100% show up rate, 80%, 75, 50% show up rate?
I'm probably at about like high 90s for
Okay.
show up.
And then
Be-
what about qualified? Like what percentage would you say, hi, these are actually like software engineers that I can help?
um, I'd say again like 90
Good, good.
because
Okay.
I'm not just helping people in software. I'm helping product managers,
Yeah.
technical program managers, right? The ones that I can't help, like sales and marketing, like I very rarely get them,
Yeah.
but those are usually like when I get someone from those domains, they're usually looking for like a quick resume review or
Hmm.
a little strategy here and there, just to kind of have like a chit chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly like 90s.
Great. So I just want to make sure that we come up with like some goal that we can then kind of use this information to then build a game plan to get there. So like
All
I
right.
know that your first mile marker was to make some money. What was your second one? I mean, I forgot to get that
To
info.
get to six figures
Okay, six
for the
figures.
year.
Okay.
Like low six figures, it
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't matter. Just six
Yeah.
figures, like breaking into that number,
Great.
you know.
So uh I would say there's two things that we wanted like now for the so I just gather all this information, right? But there's two things that we want to ultimately break down and analyze how to get to two things. So number one is how do we get you to six figures for the remaining of the year, right?
Yeah.
So like if you did 40K, we have 60K to go and we're halfway there. So we got to do $10,000 months, right?
Yeah.
Um so we're gonna have to break that down to identify how many leads, how many sales calls, all of that. Uh, the second thing we want to do is okay, fine. We can dial in marketing and get you the clients, but if you can't deliver that because of your bottleneck,
Exactly.
then it doesn't. Then all of that doesn't matter. So we want to also
Exactly.
talk about like what how do we deliver this in a more scalable way? All right.
Yeah.
So let's start with getting you the leads, right? I think the first thing that we like if I'm in your shoes, right, what I would do, Jonathan, is that I would stop trading my time for money and start trading time for value. And I think it's your clients are even telling you this because whenever you say, "Hey, I'm doing 12 sessions for 4,125," the first thing that they're doing in their head is, and these are all analytical individuals, they're saying, okay, I'm paying you $343 a session. And that's really expensive because you're making doctor money there, right? But but if you realize, right, that hey, it takes me 10 sessions to get someone in a job, like you even felt kind of guilty selling somebody 12 sessions because you maybe felt like they didn't need it and you're like kind of trying to talk them into the 5 session. I think that's where we have to start shifting and saying, hey, people have no problem paying for that and even more if you're solving the problem. So
That's
like
right.
at the end of the day, they don't care how many sessions they have with you. They care would it ultimately lead to you helping me get the job that I am here to that I need your help with. And
Hmm.
so to me, I would actually go and simplify my pricing to $5,000 and I will work with you until you get a job. Some people you'll end up working 15 sessions, some people you'll end up working 7 sessions. It'll average out and we'll figure out like average out, but it doesn't matter, right? The idea is they're no longer going to be able to quantify the time that it takes, like how much one-on-one support they get from you. They just know they're going to get the right support from you to be able to get the job. And so that's where I would just go flat $5,000. I work with you until you get a job, right?
Okay.
And
Interesting.
that's going to reassure them because to them, again, you had 5 sessions and they get a job, they're gonna be high fiving you. If it takes them 15 sessions and they get a job, they're still gonna be happy and high fiving you, and they're not worried about, oh my God, I only have 3 sessions left. Like I
Yeah.
want to make sure I get the most out of Jonathan because every minute I
Yeah.
talk to him costs me $4, right? So they're like in their head freaking out, right? And like I don't know about you, like we had a technical difficulty before we recorded, so we didn't start right on time, right? But if I was your client and we started 7 minutes late, I'm over here like I just spent $20 on nothing. Right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and so you what you don't want is the client feeling like they have to extract every second of your time. And so we
Mm.
want to move to a program model versus like where they're paying for the results versus they're just paying for your time.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah. I like
Okay.
that.
That then also leads to giving you freedom to be able to that then leads you to be able to give you freedom to be able to build a product that is not relying solely on your time and it can be delegated to other people or create some sort of stuff. So which we will come back. Now let's do the math on what would it take for you to do 6 figures this year. So $60,000,
Hmm.
meaning we got to get you two clients a month at $5,000. So I
Yeah.
do think like moving forward, like you need to increase your prices to 5,000. You're gonna work with them until they get a job. And right as of today, just do one-on-one service. Everything that you're doing, just don't count that. Just don't count it. You track it in your CRM just so that you can eventually have the data to know like it takes me 12 sessions, it takes me 9 sessions.
Yeah.
That will give you that information.
Yeah.
But in terms of the client, you just reassure them like, hey, my job is to help you until you get a job, right?
Yeah.
So if we know that so if we get $60,000 divided by 5,000, then we need 30, man, we need 30 people, right? If we need 30 people, 30 people divided by six, right? Then we need five clients a month.
Hmm.
Is that simple? So five clients times five is 25,000 times six. Actually, I did the math wrong. Like $150,000. Hold on. Sorry. I think you need two clients a month. Sorry, two clients a month.
Okay.
Uh, So if you need two clients a month, we need to then be able to, because marketing is math. At the end of the day, marketing is math. And we need to be
Yeah.
able to know if we understand the funnel, we can generate predictable results. We need to know what to do. How do we get this two clients a month? The way that and I'm getting benchmark you based on what I see in career coaches doing, what we know that is very doable for career coaches to do. You should be able to get this at a closing rate of 20%. So if 16% that you're currently doing is close, right? You said 13%. I did the math, 13 clients on 80 calls is 16%. So anyways, we're maybe a couple of percent off here and there. But what
Hmm.
I'm trying to say is like you're close enough, which means that you just need to have a better sales script. That's again, I can support you with that later. There's YouTube videos, like not too concerned of you being able to close the gap there. So to me, that's not a red flag. There's nothing there you can't overcome. Like if you're at 2% closing rate and want to go to 20, then Jonathan would be like, hey man, this is super unrealistic. But
Yeah.
that's not unrealistic. So in order for you to get two clients at a 20% closing rate, you're gonna need to take how many sales calls a week?
Well, right now, my close rate has gotten a lot better in the last couple weeks. Um, it really depends. I mean, from the ones that I've gotten like this week so far, I might get one close. Um,
Yeah. You just
so
need
I'm
three
I'm
sales
probably
calls
at
a
about
week.
like 50% per week at the moment. Not overall, right? Like
Yeah,
overall, like since January to now, it's the number that you came up with, the 16. But last couple of weeks, like a 1 week I went 100%. I closed like 3 out of 3, and the next week I closed 4 out of 4.
yeah,
So I can close two clients a week. I mean, two
yeah.
clients a month, no problem.
Exactly, which means that like, hey, your goal of hitting six figures is very realistic. Like for me, to be honest with you, what I would love to see is you averaging one client a week.
I think that's reasonable. I could do that.
It's very reasonable because if you're telling me already that you are getting about 10 clients, 10 leads a week, right?
Hmm.
And you're getting 10 leads a week, and those are sales calls, right?
Yes.
At 80% show up rate, which means 80% show up. And out of 80% of them are qualified, which means
Yeah.
to say six or seven, six and a half, seven of them are qualified. If you're closing at 20%, you're already closing. If you do one out of seven, that still is a 14% closing rate. So if you do two out of seven, that takes you to a 28% closing rate. So like even if you at a 20% is you're averaging 1.5 clients a week. Sometimes it's two, sometimes it's one, sometimes it's three, right? Like he'll average out. If you're averaging a 1.5, like you're averaging, yeah, you're gonna be easily be able to average 1.5 clients a week. So if you do that, even if let's say it's like let's average one a week. Sorry,
Yeah.
one a week. That's gonna be $20,000 a month.
Yep.
And so that's going to help you actually do 120,000 in the next 6 months. So
Yeah.
you would actually do around 180 for the year.
Yeah.
And
That'd be awesome.
it makes a lot of sense because like the first 6 months you're building a lot of the stuff that
Yes.
you're now like you're building on that momentum. So for you to do two times more in the last 6 months of the year than you did in the first year, it's very doable, it's very realistic, and you can do it.
Yeah.
So in terms of marketing and sales, I wouldn't change what you're doing because it's working. Your niche is really great. And by the way, they can afford paying you 5,000. So like
Oh, absolutely.
I would increase pricing to 5,000. I would
Hmm.
continue your niche. Wouldn't change anything that you're doing in marketing because if you're getting you already have enough sales calls to get this thing. We would focus on the sales sales script, right? But that
Mm-hmm.
other than that, I think you're there. Then we
Mm-hmm.
move on to the next bottleneck, which then becomes how do we deliver a scalable service?
Right.
And right now you're doing just one-on-one. And so what I
Yes.
would actually focus on in Q3, so the next 3 months, right, is building more of a program, right, than it is just one-on-one boutique consulting, right? And this program, there's three main elements of a program that I think are really great when anytime that a career coach does it, that dramatically increases success for their clients. So one is the right strategies. The same strategies you're teaching one-on-one, you want to continue teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Two is accountability, and three is a community, right? And when you have those three elements, you ultimately increase success. And so what I want you to think about this is I want you to think about designing some sort of activation points and saying, okay, every person I work with needs to have an onboarding call, needs to have a clarity call to identify what type of roles to apply for.
Mm-hmm.
We need to redo their LinkedIn and their resume and cover letter, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or even
Yep.
maybe in your world, there needs to be a portfolio. We need to help them with their portfolio,
Sometimes, yeah.
right? So that's part of the activation point. Then maybe right underneath there could be and I'll actually pull you an example. So like, let me just pull it up and share my screen. Canva. Because what we found, so I used to, back in the day, used to have designed my program on a weekly basis. Okay, week one, we do this. Week two, we do this. But what we found is that some people go really fast, some people go slower. And so that wasn't actually what was best for our clients, right? Well, ultimately, what we identify is that people want to go on their own pace, but instead of going on like, let's create a 12-week program, we wanted to create a program that has activation points and then figure out what different things we can do to help them learn the right strategy, help them with accountability, and help them execute that. And if we can figure out a way to do that, then we're able to ultimately be able to figure out how to do this in a scalable way. Because what we also found is that you're gonna find and I'm sure you do this already, finding yourself repeating yourself over and over and over again.
Oh, absolutely.
And so the 80-20 rule actually applies here too, where 80% of what you're teaching every one of your clients is the same for all of them. And then 20% is uniquely to them because they have different background, goals, and aspirations.
Right.
And so what we want to do is design programs that actually have the 80% they teach without your one-on-one. So it could be video courses, it could be workbooks, it could be, something else, right? It could be group coaching calls, and then still have some one-on-one sessions that are strategically put in there for different activation points. So let me show you. This is the example that we did for international students, right? This is a program where we onboarded around 10 clients a week. Okay. And so
Okay.
just so you know, like the scope of this, this is what it would look like in the grand scheme of things, like in a bird's eye view. But let me kind of walk you through all of it. Uh, the blue is activation points, meaning when they get there, it triggers them to a next action. So the goal here is that your clients never lost. They always know what's next.
Mm-hmm.
Purple is what you do, which is what the client does. Green is what you're like Opny does, my team, like what we do for them. Light blue is more information. If there's a black box around the then that means that we're gonna have a one-on-one call. Okay.
Okay.
So imagine this. You are a potential international student looking for a job, and you say, you know what, Daniel, I want to work with you and your team. You go and you submit the payment, right? We want to make sure that they're never lost from that moment until they get the job. They
Mm-hmm.
always know what's next. So that triggers them to take them to a thank you page. That then triggers them to fill in a onboarding questionnaire. So that lets them know, like, hey, they're trying to get my information. That triggers them to join the Slack community, right? So then they get bombarded with welcome messages and voice notes from our team, right? So they always now feel supported. That then gives them an email to access the modules. And then we prompt them to watch the welcome video, which the welcome video says, hey, congratulations. We're excited that you're here. Here's what you can expect. And here's what's next,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then we would do onboarding, right? So we would do onboarding. So while you're watching all those videos and you fill the form, we're reviewing the onboarding form. We're checking your LinkedIn. We're just really like doing trying to create that game plan for you. We're in the onboarding call. We know in the onboarding questionnaire, we've asked you, when do you want to get a job by? We've asked you to submit your resume. We've asked you a bunch of information, so we're
Yeah.
saving time.
Yes.
And then here in the onboarding call, we just make sure you know exactly what you need to do, that you have clarity on next steps. We just double check that we are aligned on the goal date. So like, okay, Jonathan, you want to get a job by the end of September, right? We want to set clear expectations, because that's always a mistake of like, you come, Danny, I want to get a job in 2 weeks. And I go like, yeah, sure. I just want the sale. So let me sell it to you. But that's not realistic, right? We don't want to do that, right? And so, and this is where we say, okay, Jonathan, the reality is that it's taking an average this much time to get a job, especially the companies that you want to work for, like they're not high. Like we set clear expectations.
Right.
And then that then prompts us to join, to go to the next activation point. So then you would do resumes, LinkedIn cover letter. We used to have them do their own resumes and give them feedback. We found that because we want them to get a quick win and find and get them to apply within the first 2 weeks of joining the program, that we would do their resume for them.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So that's something that we found. I would say, even if at your price point of $5,000, I would either do it yourself or hire a resume writer and pay them a couple $100. Like it would be a win-win, right? It's also a perceived value, because people who are job seeker, they already know resume writing. It's something that they can buy, and if that's already included, it's like a really perceived value.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good good point.
And so then after that, we then well, you would be working on your LinkedIn. So we then give you, like, we actually will give you step-by-step instructions and send you a Loom video on what you need to do on your LinkedIn, right? That then prompts them to the right way to apply. They will watch all the modules on how to find the right companies. How do you determine if this is a good company or not? How do you determine if this company sponsors? Remember, we work with international students. So it's, again, we're tailoring to our niche, right?
Yes.
And then we have a meeting where we present to them the resume. We make any last minute tweaks based on your feedback, and then we apply to the first job together, right? And so again, this is a one-on-one call. So if you're seeing here, we have onboarding is the first call, resume, or the right way to apply is the second call. The third call, and this same thing, activation point is hey, you watch modules, you fill out a form, then we have a one-on-one meeting. And then, so here, once we teach you the philosophy of networking, how to find the people to network, we do set up a one-on-one call, right? We then show you how to find 3 people, and we send the first 3 messages with you on the Zoom call. So again, we're showing you exactly, we teach you, then we show you, and then since then we track how you're doing it and are always constantly giving you feedback, right? So as you can see, the client feels like they're getting all this value, but it's not 12 one-on-one sessions with my team. There's a lot of heavy lifting that's done with building the program. Same thing with interview prep. We have them watch the strategy of interviewing, the psychology of interviewing, like kind of like the 80% that everyone needs to do.
Yeah.
And then we have the first mock interview before they even get an offer. And then what we tell them is, okay, now you know how to do your elevator speech. You kind of know how to do behavioral miss. Once you get an email saying, hey, I have an interview, then we do another mock interview. And then we have them upload their resume they applied with and the job description of the job they applied to. And the recruiter then does a mock interview, but really mocking the company that they're about to do their first interview with.
Yeah.
So like by the time that our client does this, the interview, they already had 2 mock interviews, and one of them felt really, really real because it's for the same job that they're about to do. And then on top of that, they will have access to weekly group coaching mock interviews. So they can always access this, but it'll be group based and so on. And then same thing with salary negotiation. They'll watch the videos. And then finally, once they get a job, we do a final call, ask them for feedback. We get the testimonial, right? And we ask for referrals. But the whole point here is that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 calls. It's what we expect the average person to get. Some will have more. Don't get me wrong. Some will really struggle with interviewing, and we'll do a couple of more mock interviews. Some will have to have a second call for a resume. But the program is designed, right, to have 7 calls. Let's say the average is 8, right? And I think this is a good example of, hey, this is like when someone pays to be part of Opny, they weren't paying for 12 one-on-one sessions. They're paying for a program. And this is where I would encourage you to implement something like this, where
Yeah.
it's a clear map. Your clients know exactly where they are, and then throughout the week, like I would say, onboarding, resumes, the right way to apply networking and interviewing, all of this could be done in the first 2 to 3 weeks. And the remaining of the time is just really optimizing and checking, okay, how many applications, how many network messages are you sending? We're now accountability. And
Hmm.
then the remaining, they can still get support in the community or in office hours. And so they still get access to you and your team. And then you're able to make this more scalable. And so okay, if I'm onboarding one client a week, then you know that you're having 5 sessions, let's say 6 sessions a week, because it's the first 3 weeks is really front loaded into work.
Yeah.
And the rest is just more group or Loom videos or at sync feedback. And
Hmm.
this will allow you to create a business that's predictable, because just based on your bandwidth, you can easily onboard maximum 2 clients a week at this point. If not, you
Yeah.
can then hire people. But questions on this?
I had one question and I didn't write it down, but I want to say it was about onboarding.
Yep.
So when you get to the onboarding part, um, is it basically just like you're giving them like a map and then you're saying, okay, let's watch these videos and then we check in? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, so like I want to over communicate, right? Like the whole point is like you're always communicating. On onboarding, I would actually share my screen. And by the way, I wasn't doing this at this time. Like this is now my team that does this. I wasn't doing onboarding, right? I had a team of 8 career coaches doing this, right? So the career coach that's assigned to that client, right, will do onboarding and will literally share the map and walk them through exactly the way I just did. So they all know, hey, this is the journey that we're going for,
Gotcha.
right? This is where we are. We'll go as fast or as low as you want. If you're saying, Daniel, like I'm flying through this, well, no worries, because every time you watch a video, there's a questionnaire attached to that video right below. Once you submit that form, like that Google form,
Hmm.
I get a notification, and that prompts you to then schedule a link to my calendar, and then you're scheduling it. Like you're moving at your pace.
Yeah.
But you know internally, because you have the data, what the average person takes to do that. So you could be able to kind of plan, saying, okay, I have 12 people in this phase of the program, so I can expect this many activation calls in the next couple of weeks. So then you
I
can
got you.
plan your calendar around it when it's
Hmm.
just you. But when you have a team, like all they did was coaching, right? Each career coach managed around 50 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another question is, have you found that like one thing is more useful for clients than others? Like let's say video or workbooks. Like is there, do people want both? Is it one or the other?
I think that it's all dependent on the learning style, and sometimes you have different niches that prefer one or the other, right? I found that people actually prefer to learn a lot of this from videos than actually like a group call sometimes. But it's also really easy nowadays with Canva and using AI to upload a video and say, can you transcribe this? And then, hey, ChatGPT, can you make this into a workbook and then edit that workbook, right?
Right.
Like there's too
Yeah,
many
yeah.
ways to be able to offer both. Um, one of the things I would say is like a best practice that I would do if I'm you is anytime somebody asks me a question, because now you have enough clients, you have 13 clients,
Yeah.
I would start tracking that. And the most commonly asked questions would be the videos I would do first.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I have a question that's more of like a risk-based question.
Yep.
When you transition or the coaches that you've trained have transitioned from one-on-ones to grouping
Yep.
or to group sessions, have they seen like a hit to the quality of their instruction or like the outcomes? Like I've noticed for me and my clients, like one of the things that they enjoy is that personalized attention, right?
Yep.
And if they, for example, like one of the things you said that I help with is doing the applications. So like
Yep.
if someone's trying to tailor their resume and they're like, hey, how would I tailor it for this job description? We jump on a session and
Yeah.
we start going through it. Like, if I do a lot more video courses, I'm wondering, like, does the quality, like, has anyone seen a reduction in that quality of
Yeah.
like that service?
That's a good question. I would tell you no. I actually think this is actually overall improves the quality experience. Because one, it's also really important to learn from their peers, and you don't know what you don't know. And so let's say you have office hours and you have a brain bank of somebody who's been in the program a little bit further that says, hey, I had the same problem. Here is how I handle it. And so
Yeah.
like it's like you're actually supporting each other. And so I would actually disagree. I also think you'll see, and this is why I wouldn't encourage you to build this out right away. I would encourage you to work one-on-one until you actually clearly feel like you're repeating yourself over and over. And the videos are only covering the part that it's like everyone
That's
like
repetitive.
has to go through. And
Hmm.
you're still having those one-on-one activation calls like on the resume or in the right way to apply. So you're still having that personal touch to make them feel like there is this one-on-one, like this is customizable to you. I'm giving you this advice to you. And it's also like, I know that people feel like their situation's different, but once you've been doing this long enough, it's not that different. It's very not that different to you. And so I actually think that the community actually helps the people find people to work with. I
Hmm.
also think like office hours, like people learn from each other. And so like if you're somebody says, hey, Jonathan, I need help customizing my resume for this application. And you're like, awesome, share your screen. And there's like 3, 4 other software engineers. That just might have answered their question because they saw how
Mm,
you did it. They saw, and especially if you're not just doing it for them, but you're saying, okay, look at the job description, look how they had the requirements, and look at your resume, and look how you're setting it up. And you're teaching them how to change it up.
right.
People are seeing it through examples, and somebody else might have a follow-up question about that the person who asked you the original question didn't even think of. So
Yeah.
then that adds value to that question. And so I actually disagree. I think you would see, and as someone that you attend a lot of our live workshops, right?
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
see the value of what someone else's question that you're like, I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Right.
And that obviously helps the community.
Yes. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
And
Yeah. No,
that's why
this
it's
is this is
hybrid.
great.
That's why I don't
Yeah.
want it to be solely group, but I
Hmm.
also don't want it to be solely one-on-one. And like that's where we found that hybrid to be really great. And then
Hmm.
later on, so this is like that what I just showed you. You're doing all of them at first, but phase two of that is saying, you know what, Daniel, I hate resumes. Like I don't like writing resumes. It's not my passion. Then you find a resume writer. So every time somebody gets to that resume writing section, the automations are all set up to that person's emails. Like
Yeah.
they're the ones who are in charge of getting that person to the next stage. And then same thing, like maybe you like interview and prep, but maybe it's important to have a mixer of different people doing interview prep because you know how it is. Different hiring managers, different recruiters have different personalities, different styles. So you want them to experience that. So maybe you do one interview prep and then you get a recruiter to do another one, right?
Yeah.
Because you're coming from a hiring manager's point of view, not
That's right.
from a recruiter's point of view. So maybe the first interview prep is someone who is a recruiter at a company and they're working a couple hours for you, right?
Mhm.
That's how I would see the value come in.
Yeah, that's cool. This is great. You gave me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I
So
like
dude,
the structure, like the walking them through, like the pre-boarding. What did you call it? The
like
pre-onboarding,
pre-onboarding, which is like what
pre-onboarding to
happens once
onboarding.
they pay
Hmm.
and before they talk to you, right? So the whole point is, I just paid you $5,000, Jonathan. Like, I want to make sure I don't get ripped off. I don't have buyer's remorse. So
Right.
like, it's really important that we're like saying, congratulations, this is a great decision. Like in fact, I actually think that's even more of an important sale than the sales call. Right? Because people sometimes feel like I paid you, now you're going to be an asshole to me, and that's not what we want, right? Like, right? But yeah, I think ultimately, if to recap this, like, career coaches makeover, if I'm in your shoes, right? This is the action steps that I would do. Step number one, increase sales today, $5,000. Forget 12 sessions. I will work with you until you get a job. Then I would use the next month or so to start really taking a lot of thorough notes on the questions that I am getting. What are the activation points that I should be having? What are the questions that come in often? What's the 80% that I am repeating myself over and over and over and over again,
Hmm.
right? That's where I would start recording the first videos, right? Uh, but then once you've gotten that information, then you design this roadmap Then I would then create the videos, but I would even in the meantime open up a Slack channel, which is free, or some sort of community, and start hosting office hours. On even the people that pay 12 sessions say, hey, I just want to let you know I am offering office hours once a week for 1 hour. You guys are more than welcome to come. You'll see
Mhm.
how many of them actually come. You'll be surprised. Actually, a lot of people come and say, I'm not charging you anything more. I just want you to get value from the community. So I
Okay.
would implement that right away. And then in the next 2 to 3 months, build out this program. And then this will allow you to go from 20 people that you can help to easily 40 people. And I say 40 because I know a full-time person can do 50. But I know as a business owner, like you're going to be more efficient than the average worker just because that's how we are as business owners. So you're
Mhm.
going to be able to double your capacity just by switching to this model and then be able to increase prices. So that will allow you to hit both of your goals.
That's awesome. This is great. This was a master class in, in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Any other questions, man?
No, no, you've given me a lot. My mind is full right now. I took
Great.
I took some notes and bullet points. I got some things to think about.
Yeah.
Luckily I record my calls, so and I transcribe them. So that's why I laughed when you said, "Oh, I could just transcribe them." And it's like, yeah,
You can.
but not now I have to go back through all that stuff to
But
see like
I
what
feel
were
like
the
you can
things I'm
upload a lot of
repeating
all
and
those transcribed and then say, hey, ChatGPT, can you find the most commonly like find commonalities within all these transcriptions? Like what are the most commonly asked questions? Like,
right.
yeah, and it can do a lot of that analysis for you. But Jonathan, look, and I'll kind of say this, like you have such a great niche. Like there's so many things going for you in your business that there is no reason why this cannot be a very successful, even a seven-figure business by the end of next year, right? You one have that experience in the background of, hey, I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Two, you're naturally passionate about that. Your history from being a tutor to all of this is just like you're naturally like gravitated toward this types of business,
Yeah.
right? So you have the experience. It's one thing of knowing technical, it's another thing being a good teacher. So you're a good teacher, but also know the material, like you know the stuff. So you could do that.
Hmm.
Um, you have a great niche. Software engineers are great because they lack a lot of the social skills that you are really good at. So you can teach them the tech, you can support them in technical, but really help them show their value. And so that's there. Another thing to add to that, why it's such a great niche, is because they have the money to pay for it. Software engineers get paid really well.
Yeah.
And so charging $5,000 right now is a bargain. And then I think about version 2 or 3 of this program where there's like access to all these coaches and all this stuff. That program itself can be doubled in price and it would still be a bargain. So I think you have so much room to grow. And so I think the sky's the limit for you. And I appreciate you letting us use you as an example.
Yeah, man, not a problem. My pleasure. And this is awesome. I learned a lot. Thank you very
Great.
much.
Great. For everyone that's watching this, if you are not already part of the career coaches community on Skool, there's a link below. It's free. We do one career coaches makeover a month. And we have tons of other resources and recordings on helping you scale your career coaching business. If you feel like you are ready and want to learn more about what it looks like to work with my team and I, there's also a link to apply to work with us. We don't work with everybody. We want to make sure that you are at a phase that we can ultimately help you reach your goals. But again, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Jonathan, you are the man, and I'll
My
see you
pleasure.
guys all later.
Peace.